Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So we are from Home Group 2. So my name is Zadda Ilman, and I will be the presenter along with Edwina, Alyssa, and Syafrie Muhammad. And other members in my home group is Jonathan Chandra, Misal Alif, Chen Kongwei, and Muhammad Rafi Desrino. So basically, we're gonna talk about stunting in Indonesia, and yeah, we're gonna discuss more and dig deeper into it. And also later, we will know that stunting in Indonesia has reached a very severe level, and that's why, as youth, we feel triggered to solve this issue by giving recommendations that might be beneficial for governments or maybe other related stakeholders. Okay, here is the table of contents that we include in the presentation. So the first one is problem statement, and then hypothesis, solutions, supporting evidence, and recommendations and conclusions. Okay, now we go to problem. But before we jump further into the problem statement, better we know first what exactly stunting is. So according to World Health Organization, stunting is impaired growth and development that children experience from poor nutrition, repeated infection, and inadequate psychosocial stimulation. And here are the three facts stunting in Indonesia. So the first one is that stunting in Indonesia is very high, which has reached 27.67%, which is much higher than the standard one, which is only 20%. And the second one is that KPAI reported that 510 out of 516 cities, or I might say it's almost all cities in Indonesia, suffered this problem. And the third fact is that, according to World Bank Indonesia country director, nearly 9 million children in Indonesia uh, under 5 years old or balita are suffering this impaired growth. And that was actually main factor of stunting. In Indonesia itself, the main factor of stunting is poor nutritional intake from the time the fetus is in the womb until the children reach 2 years old. And the stunting is actually not just stunting. The stunting can actually give further impact, especially for children, which is started from brain damage, and then it can lead to disturbed intellectual in the future. And if it's so, if this problem is still exists or if the problem is still unsolved, then it really makes sense in the future the poverty will also still exist.
So now our group want to talk about the hypothesis of stunting. So based on our finding, we believe that stunting is a prominent issue in developing countries and especially in developing countries. And it is mainly caused by poor or malnutrition and of course poor sanitation. And that happened to both the mothers and the toddlers. And we believe that stunting must be addressed as a national issue and must be solved through strategic effort by the government. Next, let's talk about the solution, what we can do to eradicate stunting. So first, we present the short-term solution for stunting. So the first thing that we think might be suitable for eliminating stunting is to provide child development stimulation. By providing child development stimulation, we believe that we can provide more nutrition to the children. And then the second is to routinely monitor children's growth by tracking record of the children's growth. And we had the idea is to track it, and then we can know does this children has a problem in his or her growth or not. And then the third is to provide additional food for toddlers, like multivitamins and other more diverse kind of food to them so they can have a better nutrition. And the last one is to provide healthcare services for children. And this is to, of course, to provide them with the necessary medical support that they should receive since the early age, such as immunization. And then we would like to also present long-term solution to eradicate uh, stunting. So the first is to introduce ICT to rural areas, like teaching people how to use laptop. Why we think this is important? Because if we teach more people ICTs or access to the internet or how to use laptop, then we are going to make information more accessible to a lot of people, and especially on stunting. So we believe that if more people knows about stunting and how to eradicate it, then chances are they are going to uh, able to prevent stunting from the very first stages of both of their children. And the second is to improve agriculture because we believe that more diverse food source could be good for both the mothers and the toddlers because they got more nutrition. So we believe it is important to diversify our food products. And also, we would like to talk about UNICEF's solution on stunting. And the first solution based on UNICEF's idea is to gather data that are central to planning and implementation. Why we should gather data? Well, because we have to keep track everything and we have to put it in an order with innovative methods. So we know what to do when we detect maybe someone is experiencing stunting and it's easier to report to the local authority if we have a better data management. Then second is to provide to implement multi-sectoral and decentralized approach. So we have to break away from the centralized approach that are currently in use where stunting is a problem that is solely under the regulation of the Ministry of Health. So we must break away from that and give understanding to people that stunting is a wider problem that covers not just health but also economic and also sociology. And then we must also encourage leaders to spearhead the effort because we have to give them understanding that stunting is not a personal problem. It's not just a family problem where the children will have disturbed growth, but it is actually a problem for the whole country because if people experience stunting, then he or she, the children probably are going to have a lower intellectual level, and then in the end, they are not going to be as productive or as, let's say, skillful as their peers. And in the end, that will bring them to the poorest level of the society. And the last one is to improve dietary diversity and intervention of malnutrition program through improved agriculture and food source.
Hello, classmates and Pak Jimmy. I am Edwina Alyssa Matindas, and I will be conducting the last part of the presentation today, which will consist of the supporting evidence and the conclusion and recommendations. So World Health Organization has set a target for 40% reduction in the number of children under 5 who are stunted. They published some data around examples of intervention that was implemented to address children's stunting. This can be supporting evidence that the solutions that we recommended would have a positive impact on stunting. Firstly, Brazil experienced a sharp reduction of socioeconomic inequalities from 1996 to 2007. And with that, child stunting dropped from 37% to 7%. Two-thirds of the decline could be attributed to improvements in maternal schooling, family purchasing power, maternal and child health care, and coverage of water supply and sanitation services. More girls were enrolled in and completed primary school, increasing overall maternal schooling in adulthood. These women also had fewer children. Secondly, studies show that in Cambodia, prevalence of child stunting decreased from 49% to 39%. The factors that contributed the most to the decrease in child stunting were increased household wealth, increased access to sanitation facilities, improved maternal and paternal education levels, longer intervals between birth, and decreased prevalence of maternal tobacco use. And lastly, in Peru, stunting among children under 3 years of age fell from 54% to 37%. This was part of a program that promoted intake of iodized salt, prenatal controls, adequate feeding of pregnant and lactating women and their children, exclusive breastfeeding during the first 6 months of life, control of iron, vitamin deficiency, and personal and family hygiene. Lastly, I'll be talking about the conclusion and recommendations for stunting. For the conclusion itself, I will try to summarize all our key learnings so far on stunting. Firstly, the main cause are malnutrition from pregnancy to infancy for both the mother and children. Second, the main issue with stunting is that it disturbs the growth of infants, not allowing them to reach their full potential, and it has severe impact on the livelihoods and causing endless cycles of poverty. Thirdly, improvements that are needed, as mentioned by my teammate before, are first of all, proper healthcare and nutrition for all mothers and children. In addition, water, sanitation, and hygiene is also needed to ensure the children's proper development up until adulthood. So from our team, there are 3 major recommendations that I'll be explaining on the subject of stunting. Firstly, it's extensive socialization on stunting. The data points and evidence clearly shows that this is a major issue for our country, yet many people who need it the most are not properly educated about this topic. Second, the government needs to provide economic assistance to help poor families get adequate nutrition. The government can think of it as an investment to improve the country's development in the long run. And lastly, we need to encourage parents, especially mothers, to consult with nutritionists. It is critical that mothers are aware of the nutrition needs of their children. Without this, stunting will become an endless issue for Indonesia that will never get solved. So that's all for the presentation on PBL2 from our home group. On behalf of my team, I would like to say thank you for your attention, and any feedback and questions are welcome.